Hi, hello everyone. I'm Dr. Visweswaraiah as Assistant Professor of English, working in Government First Grade College, Kunigal, which is affiliated to Tumkur University, Karnataka. Dear viewers and my dear students, this particular session will be focused on analysis of the poem A Song for Saint Cecilia's Day, written by John Dryden. Okay, so let us have some brief introduction about the poem A Song for Saint Cecilia's Day. So immediately when I just say that the title, so you may have some questions in your mind. A song, it's not a poem. For whom? For Saint Cecilia's Day. So it attracts the title itself. Look at the title. Who is Saint Cecilia? See, without understanding the title, we may not follow the poetry completely. So that is how you need to focus on the title, A Song for Saint Cecilia's Day. So, Saint Cecilia, for your information, Saint Cecilia is the patroness of musicians, patron of music, what we call. So we can say that she was saint, martyr, and virgin. So in that, it's very interesting if you know the story behind that Saint Cecilia. So it is told that the musicians played at her wedding when she sang in her heart to the Lord. So it is. It was in her wedding day. So the arrangements were made. In the wedding, there were musicians who were playing the music. So Cecilia, Saint Cecilia, she started to sing a song, and the music, she completely involved in that music, and even she was completely sang in her to the Lord. So the angels from the heaven, they confused and come to the earth thinking that heaven it is. So look at that, how even she got married to Valerian. So she requested him, though got the marriage, she was not touched by her husband Valerian, so she became a virgin. So she considered a virgin and saint. So look at having this background, taking such consideration. John Dryden, look at that, it's a neoclassics. See, taking such background, John Dryden writes a song for her day, means Saint Cecilia's Day. That was that is, we can say that November 22nd is considered or celebrated as Saint Cecilia's Day. To commemorate the day, the celebration, John Dryden wrote a song for Saint Cecilia's Day. So look at that. It's a very interesting poetry fused with, look at that, how music, I mean music in the sense, all of you, you can just think about that. Music attracts everyone in the world. Okay, no exceptions left out. Because such a attraction is there with the music. So one way or other way, music attracts. So such a way that how with the music, completely with the harmony, this universal frame began. This universe began with the frame set of music. That is how John Dryden focused here. Okay, dear viewers, it's very interesting poetry to deal with. Okay, so to know more, here in this session you will be having poetry. Just I read out the poetry stanza wise and with the grand chorus as well. After that, there will be an analysis of each stanza. Got it? So that is how this session will be focused on. Okay, viewers. Let us go to some of the slides on the screen. So kindly look at it and get some information about the poetry. And I request the students of literature or who are studying in UG level, and the syllabus is prescribed for you. You please focus on the lines, the words, each and every words in this poetry, in this stanza is very important for you, because in your exams you may be asked to annotate the poetry. So annotation will be there. For annotations, you need to know the each and every line and the words and the sentences of this. Okay, please. Okay. Viewers. So this is the slide about my topic and the details of this presentation. So let us go to the introduction part of the poetry. Right? Okay. So look at here in the introduction. Okay. As I told you that John Dryden's A Song for Saint Cecilia's Day, published in 1687. It's very important, and it was for the celebration. As I told you that this poetry was written to celebrate a religious holiday commemorating Saint Cecilia, a Catholic martyr and patron saint of music and musicians. Okay, so Dryden in this poem celebrates music and its intimacy with human emotion, religious truth, and the makings of the universe. The speaker describes a variety of different musical instruments as well as narratives, including that of Saint Cecilia under organ. Okay, so that is very important to know that how John Dryden describes a variety of musical instruments in this poetry, and each instrument produce a different music, and also the note, and it has its own symbolically is done some, that is how this poetry plays a very important role in the literature. Okay, dear viewers, let us go to the poetry stanza wise. Okay, look at that. Stanza after that. Let me just explain you about the Saint Cecilia, as I already told you in the beginning, but look at on the screen. Saint Cecilia is a patroness of music and musicians in several Christian traditions, including Dryden's own Anglican tradition. She was a famous Roman martyr who, despite her vow of virginity, was forced by her parents to marry a pagan nobleman named Valerian. During her wedding, Cecilia is said to have sat apart from the ceremony and sung her praises to God the Lord, which later earned her the title of patroness of musicians. Our feast is celebrated on November 22nd. So, to commemorate November 22nd of Saint Cecilia's Day, this song for Saint Cecilia's Day written by John Dryden. Okay, dear viewers, let us go to that directly to the stanza-wise analysis of the poetry. Okay, look at that in the stanza 1. It is told that how it is interestingly. I'll just read out the stanza 1 and follow and look at on the screen. From heavenly harmony, this universal frame began, when nature underneath a heap of jarring atoms lay, and could not heave her head. The tuneful voice was heard from high. Arise, more than dead, then cold and hot and moist and dry, in order to their stations leap, and music's power obey. From heavenly harmony, this universal frame began. From harmony to harmony, through all the compass of the notes it ran, the diapason closing full in man. See, look at this very interesting stanza. Look at how he says, from heavenly harmony, means harmony with very importantly, he says that from heavenly harmony, this universal frame began. See, if you just say that, what is harmony? Harmony is a combination of simultaneously sounded musical notes. Harmony is it's a sound that the musical notes to produce pleasing effect. That is harmony. We call it as harmony. I mean the collective notes or the sounds of the music. That is called the harmony. From heavenly harmony. Look at that. The harmony which is not a simple one. From heavenly. It was from heaven. That harmony that combination of sound and notes and the music which has come from the heaven, this, because of the harmony, because of the universal, harmony, this universal frame began. So, with the harmony, because of the harmony, the universe began to active, or began to just frame. It is framed because of harmony. From heavenly harmony it has come, the note to say that this universal frame began. This universe started with that. Look at that. When nature underneath a heap of jarring atoms lay. Look at that, because of the harmony, when the nature underneath, in the nature, there are many atoms which were separated, or which were not in a tune, and they began to lay. They began to come together softly, and began to come together and started this universe, and could not heave her head. Could not heave her head. Means, because of the tune, or because of that, we can say command, or because of the harmony, the sound which has come from the heaven. So the tuneful voice was heard from the high. When from the high the tuneful voice was heard, then arise a more than dead. So completely the atoms, jarring atom, the atoms were like, they were like, dead. So when the tuneful voice from the high sky, which was heard, then cold, hot, moist, dry, in order to their stations leap. See, all the tune and this universe, this nature started to act accordingly. Look at that. Then the cold, hot, moist, dry, all the seasons orderly put together to just rhythm, or to because of the harmony, or because of the tuneful music which was heard from the sky, it was started to begin. So look at that. In order to their stations leap, and music's power obey. So because of the musical power, because of the music power, this universe obeyed and act accordingly. Look at that. That is how Dryden, our speaker, says that from harmony, from heavenly harmony, this universal frame began. From harmony to harmony, through all the compass of the notes it ran, the diapason closing full in man. See, it says that how, and it says that how the music from harmony to harmony, through all the compass, look at that, how it was covered with the notes which it ran, that diapason closing full in man. Means diapason means an organ which stops sounding the main flute pipes, typically in 8-foot pitch, and that diapason, that closing full in man. So it's like this. The stanza 1 here tells about how, because of the harmony, the universal frame began. Let us look at the analysis of the stanza. Okay, so look at that. In this particular stanza, begins with reference to heavenly harmony. Look at that. According to speaker, this harmony, supervised by God, the Creator, lies in the whole universe. The universal frame began with this harmony when nature was nothing but a heap of jarring atoms. Just it was nature was nothing before this musical, or before the music, or before this tuneful voice heard from the sky. The nature was nothing, but it was just a heap of jarring atoms. God bound them in order. As I told you, God bound them in order and formed this earth by the reference to heavenly harmony. It seems speaker is alluding to the Newtonic model of the universe. That is how that physics behind this. Look at Newtonic model of the universe as just because of the harmony. Here, he personifies the nature and says that nature could not heave her head higher after its creation. See, that is how it was interesting. And then he said that then suddenly she heard a tuneful voice, means this earth heard a tuneful voice from heaven. The sound raised her from her immobile state like a dead person. Look at, the sound raised her from her immobile state like a dead person. According to the speaker, this music eventuated the seasonal cycle on earth. Through all the compass of the musical notes, the earth revolved and the diapason closed full in man. Diapason means the entire range of something. Here, it reference is made to the complete compass of the heavenly music. Okay, so that is how the first stanza is very interesting and important to know that from harmony, from heavenly harmony, this universal frame began. Okay, so look at that. Yeah, we'll go to the next stanza. So look at that in the stanza 2. In the second stanza, it is again very important to know. Look at just I'll read out. What passion cannot music raise and quell? When Jubal struck the chorded shell, his listening brethren stood around, and wondering on their faces fell to worship that celestial sound. Less than a god, they thought, there could not dwell within the hollow of that shell that spoke so sweetly and so well. What passion cannot music rise and quell? Look at that, how? What passion cannot music rise and quell? Look at the passion of the music, which has its own, it rise and end, quell. Because it is very interesting to know that when Jubal struck, Jubal means in the biblical reference, father of the music struck the chorded shell. Look at that chord, means that with the ribs it makes a sound with the shell. The shell makes a beautiful music. is listening to that shell. It listening to that shell. Brothers stood around with that musical note. Look at that. It is speaking about speaker is speaking about the chorded shell, how it sounds or how the music come out from the shell. Then listening, brethren stood around and wondering, on their faces fell to worship that celestial sound, to worship that, oh my God, how this music attracts each and everyone, which is really we have to worship because it's a celestial sound. It's come from the high, from the sky. Look at that. Less than a god, they thought there could not dwell. Less than a god, they thought there could not dwell within the hollow of that shell. Look at that, with the hollow of the shell. So is there God lies in the hollow of that shell? Dwell in that shell? And is the God making music, sitting or dwelling inside the shell? Because such a beautiful music come out of the shell that spoke so sweetly. Look at it, they say that the music is so sweet and so well. What passion! What passion cannot music rise and quell? Look at that, how the analysis of the stanza 2 lies here. Here, poetic persona refers to the power of music because of the power. He says music can rise and quell extreme passion. Both extremes here. When Jubal struck the chorded shell, his brethren stood around him, wondering about his composition. Look at the composition of the shell. And look at the composition of the shell and how it gives such a beautiful and sweet music out of it. On their faces, there was an awe-inspiring look. Okay, it seems to the speaker that they were worshipping that celestial sound coming from Jubal's shell, coming from Jubal's, the father of music. Such music, such importance is given to that. In the Bible, Jubal is described as the ancestor of all who played the harp and flute. Means music. Okay, that is how this stanza 2 is very important to know. Yeah, so let us look at the stanza 3. Okay, so look at in the stanza 3 again. Is another important musical instrument here. Speaker introduces here. Look at stanza 3. The trumpet's loud clangor excites us to arms with shrill notes of anger and mortal alarms. The double beat of the thundering drum cries, "Hark! The foes come! Charge! Charge! It's too late to retreat." Look at how the beautifully written lines here. The trumpet, the trumpet sound. When you listen to the trumpet sound, it's just, the clangor, that clangor, loud, shrilling voice, that shrilling sound of the clangor, which comes out from the musical, from the instrument trumpet. excites us to arms, excites us to, come on, march. Arms means it excites us to the war. Get ready. Foes, enemies are, attacking. Such a alarm, with the shrill notes of anger. It's, the voice is a shrilling note. It rises to of anger and mortal alarms. Come on, get ready. Like, such alarm gives from the sound of trumpet. And not only that, even the double beat of the thundering drum. Look at that, how the drum with the thundering beating sound of double beat. That, the thundering drum. What does it say? What does it, or what does it implies? That is, the thundering drum says that cries, hark! Come on, look at that. Look at that. Hark! The foes come. Enemies are attacking us. Charge! Don't leave them. Charge! It's too late to retreat. That is how, it's beautiful lines. Says that how, each and every word in this poetry attracts us. Look at that, how this stanza speaks about. In this, in the case of the trumpet sound, it's loud clangor. Okay, it excites the listeners to arms, to get ready for the arms. By the line, excites us to arms means speaker presents the imagery of soldiers here. Come on, soldiers means, the army. Get ready. The foes are, coming. Look at the imagery of soldiers getting ready for the battle. Here in the same. The clangor of the trumpet also imitates the mood of anger. The mood of anger, it excites us. It is often used to give, mortal alarms also. While the beating of a thundering drum, look at that, the double beat of thundering drum cries and harks the arrival of enemy forces, arrival of enemies. Okay, hearing the sound, the soldiers cry out. So the soldiers, they ready and cry, charge. It's too late to retreat. So this revolves around the musical instruments of their sound, heighten the mood of the poem. Look at that, how each and instruments of this, heighten the mood of the poem. Okay, dear viewers, it's very interesting that. Let us go to the next stanza 4. Okay, look at that in this stanza 4. It's again very interesting here. The soft complaining flute in dying notes discovers the woes of hopeless lovers, whose dirge is whispered by the wobbling lute. Look at that, how it says that the soft complaining flute in dying notes discovers the woes of hopeless lovers, whose dirge is whispered by the wobbling lute. See, the flute, here the instrument the speaker speaks about, the soft complaining flute. The flute, complains about, very soft spoken in dying notes. Dying notes means very slowly, it's touching the human minds to discover that the woes of hopeless lovers. Woes means very sad or unhappy, or the that is a distress of hopeless lovers, complaining about that. Whose dirge means whose the loss is whispered by the warbling lute. So look at that with that lute, how the dirge of whispered, and the how the hopeless lovers, these are all very interestingly brought out here. So this stanza zooms into the sound of the flute. As I told you, speaker uses auditory imagery throughout the piece for depicting the sound of the instrument mentioned by him. The soft sound of the flute appears to be imitating a complaining voice here. So, complaining when each other about their love or distress, about their, the feelings. In the dying notes of it, the listeners can imagine the woes of hopeless lovers. Look at the dying notes, and it makes listeners to imagine the distress of the hopeless lovers. According to the speaker, their dirge is whispered by the warbling lute. Warbling, that making that sound. In this phrase, the poet uses a personal metaphor of, about this, right? Okay, so in the stanza 5, you will be getting another important aspect of music here. Okay, look at in this stanza again. A speaker says that sharp violins proclaim their jealous pangs and desperation, fury, frantic indignation, depth of pains and height of passion for the fair disdainful dame. Look at how sharp violins proclaim. Sharp violins just indicates the jealous pain and desperation, fury, and frantic emotion, indignation, the deep or depth pains and height of passion for the fair disdainful dame. Look at that, how here, hearing the sound of the flute, the sharp violins proclaim their jealous pains. Sharp violins here, okay? We just say that it is about the pains. It seems to the speaker that violin is desperate to express the player's fury and frantic indignation. Means the violin's note, they express the desperate, the pain and human emotions in it. The instrument cannot be offended. The user or the musician is offended. Therefore, the speaker uses metonymy here. When the speaker hears its sound, the sound reflects the musician's depth of pain and height of passion for the fair mocking dame. Means a mocking dame. So it is, dame in the sense, the title given to a woman in the rank of a knight, means to a woman for her order of cavalry. That is how he says. So the violin player seems to be victim of unanswered love. Music is the medium using which he expresses his love as well as his pain. Love as well as his pain. So that is how a sharp violins, it is said that a sharp violin, it, proclaims their jealous pangs and desperation, fury, frantic indignation, depth of pains and height of passion for the fair disdainful dame. Okay, so in the next stanza says that, but oh, what art can teach, what human voice can reach, the sacred organ's praise, notes inspiring holy love, notes that wing their heavenly ways to mend the choirs above. It says that, but oh, but H is missed here typographically. But oh, what art can teach, what human voice can reach. The sacred organ's praise, notes inspiring holy love, the notes that wing their heavenly ways to mend the choirs above. Here in this stanza, speaker speaks about the organ, Saint Cecilia's organ. Okay, look at it says that the focus is on Saint Cecilia's musical instrument, that is the organ. Here the organ, Cecilia's organ is, what art, what an art it is. Can teach the human voice, can reach the sacred organ's prize. Look at that, how the sacred the organ is. According to him, the human voice cannot reach the height of a sacred organ's prize. None can teach this art to human being unless the user has some divine inspiration. It is not simply, human being can reach it, but because of some divine inspiration, a heavenly spirit it is. It's not just our organ is, very normal. It is the divine inspiration which has come from heaven, heavenly spirit it is. The reference is to Saint Cecilia, who was inspired by heaven. Even the angels, confused, earth to heaven, right? Like that. Her notes, the music which has come from her organ, the notes inspired holy love in humans, a sacred love in humans. Not only that, her composition rose higher to heaven and mended the choirs above. And mended the choirs above means it was mended. The choirs means the group of singers above. The speaker refers to the healing and constructive qualities of music, especially of Saint Cecilia's music. Okay, that is very important here. That is how you need to understand here that stanza 6 is like, but oh, what art can teach, what human voice can reach, the sacred organ's prize, notes inspiring holy love, notes that wing their heavenly ways to mend the choirs above. Look at in the 7th stanza, Orpheus could lead the savage race, and trees unrooted left their place, sequacious of the lyre, but bright Cecilia's raised the wonder higher, when to her organ vocal breath was given, an angel heard and straight appeared, mistaking earth for heaven. Look at that. Orpheus, you know, Orpheus, a poet who could, it is in the Greek mythology, it is said that the beauty, wild beast with the beauty of his singing, how Orpheus attracted the, animals and the bees with his music. In the same way, could lead the savage race. He led the savage race with the music. Look at with the Orpheus. Orpheus, in the Greek mythology, it is compared that with his music, and trees unrooted left their place. Look at that. Even the trees followed Orpheus, and even the savage race, because such a power behind music. Okay, sequentials of lyre. Look at that. How that sequences of the music with the stringed instrument, very small U-shape, harp, that is called ly or a lyre, with that attractive music. But bright Cecilia, look at that bright Cecilia, compared here, Orpheus to Cecilia's voice. Bright Cecilia raised the wonder higher when, with her voice or with her note, with her music, Cecilia raised the wonder to the higher when to her organ, vocal breath was given. An angel in the heaven heard and straightway appeared, mistaking earth to heaven. Such a beautiful music heard means there is a conception that when the music heard, it is heaven only. Such a way that angel heard the music, straightway appeared, mistaking earth for heaven. Look at how beautifully. So that is how Orpheus and Saint Cecilia, how both using the mythology Greek, compared here with the voice of Cecilia's vocal organ. Like this, let us go. Okay, let us have some analysis for this. Orpheus, a musician or a poet or a prophet in Greek mythology, was another figure alluded to this poem here, because he could play the lute or lyre in such a manner that made the savage race of Greece obey and respect him. So his music could inspire not only humans but nature also respond to it. The trees got uprooted and from their place, and even according to speaker, he was sequentious of the lyre. It means that he perfected the lyre. Same way, Cecilia raised the wonder higher than Orpheus. When she gave her vocal breath to her organ, it reached heaven. The angel heard her music and straightly appeared, mistaking earth for heaven. Such was the magnificence of Saint Cecilia's composition, or Saint Cecilia's music. Okay, look at that. Stanza 8 is about the grand chorus. Okay. As from the power of sacred lays, the spears began to move and sung the great Creator's praise to all the blessed above. So, when the last and dreadful hour the crumbling pageant shall devour, the trumpet shall be heard on high, the dead shall live and the living die, and music shall untune the sky. Look at that, how the grand chorus gives us very interesting thing here. As from the power of sacred lays and space began to move, all the space in a universal frame began with the musical power and sung the great Creator's praise. All blessed above. Look at that, how. So here it is said that it's sung by all the singers. The speaker says, from the power of Cecilia's sacred lays in the spheres of began to move. I mean, the universe began to move. Her music had the power to infuse life into all the inanimate objects. Hearing her organ, they came into life and sang the great Creator's praise. With the hearing organ, her organ, they came to life. So, they sang for all the blessed angels residing in heaven. When the last and dreadful hour, metaphorical reference to the death year, came, the crumbling pageant shall devour the creation. The tempest, the trumpet, trumpet shall be heard in heaven. Those who have died will come to life, and the living die. Living die, and how, look at how died will come to life, and the living die with the music. Such a power behind the music. Along with that, her music will untune the sky. In this way, the poet refers to the mightiness of Cecilia's divine music, comparable to the power of God. So, this is how it is very interesting that a song for Saint Cecilia's Day is beautiful and brought out with all these interesting things in the poetry. All the instruments has its own power of music, and it makes the life, or because of this universal frame began. Okay, dear viewers, I hope you got some information about the analysis of the poem A Song for Saint Cecilia's Day, written by John Dryden. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to me and watching this. Thank you so much. Kindly subscribe.